Every single person who has ever built something great was once terrified of losing everything. But here's what nobody tells you. The fear never disappeared. They just kept moving through it. And that movement, that single decision to do the hard thing anyway, is where all real strength is born. Not in the gym, not in a classroom, not in a motivational quote. In the moment you choose the harder path, when the easier one is right there. Stay with me, because what I am about to share will completely change how you see difficulty, discipline, and your own potential. There is a psychological principle called hedonic adaptation. It simply means this: the more comfort you give your brain, the more comfort your brain demands to feel okay. Think about that for a moment. Every time you scroll instead of study, sleep in instead of start, or choose the path with zero resistance, your brain logs it. It says this is the new normal. And the next time something hard arrives, your brain panics even faster, resists even harder, gives up even sooner. You are not lazy. You have not failed. You have simply been training your brain the wrong way. One small comfort at a time. Now consider a man named Marcus. Marcus grew up in a working-class neighborhood in Manchester, England. He watched his father take the same safe job for 30 years, never a risk, never a challenge, never a hard decision. By the time Marcus was 24, he realized something that shook him to his core. His father was not happy. He was comfortable. And Marcus began to understand those are two very different things. So he made a choice. He started waking up before sunrise. Not because someone told him to, not because of a YouTube video, but because the discomfort of it told him he was building something. Within 18 months, Marcus had built his first small business. Not because of talent, because he had retrained his brain to associate hard things with progress. That is the first shift. Comfort feels safe, but it slowly shrinks your world. Difficulty feels dangerous, but it quietly expands everything. Here is a question most people never stop to ask themselves. Who are you becoming? Not where are you going? Not what do you want? Who are you becoming? Because psychologists have known for decades that behavior shapes identity, not the other way around. You do not think your way into a new version of yourself. You act your way there. Every time you do a hard thing, you cast a vote for the person you are becoming. And here is where it gets deeply personal. Imagine a woman named Sophie. Sophie was 29, living in a comfortable apartment in Sydney, Australia. She had a decent job. She had good friends. She had everything that should have made her feel satisfied. But she felt like she was disappearing. Not physically, emotionally. Like every year that passed, a smaller version of herself showed up in the mirror. One evening, Sophie made a decision so small it almost seems embarrassing. She signed up for a public speaking class. Not because she wanted to be a speaker, because the thought of it made her stomach turn inside out. The first night, she barely finished 2 sentences before her voice cracked. People were kind, but she sat in her car afterward and cried. She went back the next week, and the week after, and something started to happen, not in the speaking, in her brain. She started making other hard decisions. She started speaking up in meetings she used to stay quiet in. She renegotiated her salary twice. She started a side project she had been postponing for 3 years. None of these things happened because of talent. They happened because Sophie had quietly redefined who she was. She had become someone who does hard things. And once that identity locks in, once your brain genuinely believes, I am someone who does not back down, the world around you starts to reorganize itself accordingly. The hard truth is this: your current life is a direct reflection of the identity you have been reinforcing every single day. Change the actions, change the identity, change the life. In the 1960s, a Stanford psychologist ran an experiment that would go on to predict life outcomes more accurately than nearly any other measure ever studied. A child sat alone in a room with a single marshmallow in front of them. The researcher told the child, "You can eat this now, or if you wait 15 minutes, I will give you 2. Some children grabbed it immediately. Others waited, fidgeted, looked away, sang to themselves, covered their eyes, but they waited. Decades later, follow-up studies found that the children who had waited performed better across almost every life category: relationships, physical health, financial stability, career success. Not because they were smarter, because they had developed the psychological muscle of delayed gratification. Now here's where this connects to something far bigger. Look at Elon Musk. Before the global empire, before the headlines, before the rockets, there was a young man who sold his first startup at 27 for over $300 million. Most people in that position would stop. They would rest. They would enjoy. Musk reinvested almost all of it into 2 companies that were statistically near certain to fail. SpaceX was given a 10% chance of survival by aerospace experts. Tesla was laughed out of every traditional room it entered. By 2008, both companies were weeks away from bankruptcy. He later admitted he was having emotional breakdowns during that period. He chose the hard thing not once, but over and over and over. There is a quote from an interview he gave years later where he described that period simply, "I did not think we would make it, but stopping felt even more impossible." That is not luck. That is not genius. That is a man who had trained himself so deeply in delayed gratification that he could survive levels of pressure that would destroy most people. Strength is not built in the easy moments. It is stored in them, stored in every hard thing you choose when you had every reason not to. Now, I want to tell you something that most people never fully understand. The wealthy do not become strong after they succeed. They succeed because they became strong first. And strength is not a personality trait you are born with. It is a skill, a discipline, a daily practice. Here is the psychological truth. Every time your brain says this is too hard and you do it anyway, you are not just completing a task. You are overriding years of comfort programming. You are sending a signal down into the deepest layers of your identity that says, I am capable of more than my fear suggests. And here's what nobody shows you on social media. The people who seem effortlessly confident, effortlessly disciplined, effortlessly wealthy, they got there through hundreds of silent, unglamorous moments of choosing the hard thing alone in a room when no one was watching and no one would have blamed them for quitting. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not intelligence. It is not opportunity. It is not even time. It is the number of hard things you are willing to do before you see any reward for doing them. That is the real currency. Not money, not fame. The willingness to do hard things before they feel worth it. Because every difficult choice you make today is a deposit into a version of yourself you cannot yet see, but who is absolutely being built. So let me leave you with this. You already know what your hard thing is. You have known for a while. Maybe it is the conversation you keep postponing, the skill you keep meaning to learn, the decision you keep circling but never landing on. The discomfort you feel every time you think about it, that is not a warning sign. That is a compass. It is pointing you directly toward the version of yourself that is capable of something greater. Every person who ever built a life they were proud of passed through the same narrow gate you are standing in front of right now. They were not braver than you. They were not luckier than you. They simply decided that the pain of staying the same was greater than the fear of doing the hard thing. And then they did it. Imperfectly, nervously, without a guarantee. But they did it. And slowly, the way light moves at dawn, everything changed. Not overnight, not dramatically, but permanently. Strength does not come from avoiding difficulty. It never has. It never will. Strength comes from doing the hard thing, and then doing it again and again until one day you look back and realize the person standing in this moment is nothing like the person who once thought this was impossible. That day is coming, but it starts right now.